Okay, so yeah, like I said, we're going to go over the informative presentation, informative topic, how to select a topic, how to analyze an audience to make that topic engaging towards the group that we're going to be talking to. And then I'll get you all set up for what we're going to do tomorrow in class. Okay, so here we go. Let's go into it. We're going to switch over into the Canvas course space. All right, so this week, on top of asking you to read chapter 1, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 14, I'm also asking you to give me your informative presentation topic, okay? And it looks like a few of you have already done that, which is great. You're picking an innovation or an innovator from the first part of the 21st century, which is the year 2000 up until 2023, today, okay, July 11th, all right? So that does kind of cancel out a few. So I'm just gonna take a quick tour and see what some people have so far, if you don't mind, if that's good. Riot Games, don't know what that is, okay, LinkedIn, all right, YouTube, okay, iPhone, all right, streaming services, okay, and Tesla, okay, so these look pretty good so far. Yeah, so basically what I would do is I would reply back with a complete, okay, and once you see that it's complete, I'll show you what that looks like. Let's go into speed grader. Okay, let's see who's going to be. So Robert's going to be our speed grader. So I would go into this and I would see Robert picked Riot Games. I'm assuming that's some kind of video game, right? So I would hit complete and move on to the next person. Talia, LinkedIn. Okay, so you're good. Oh, this is where it gets crazy. So there's some people that didn't put stuff in here. That's okay. YouTube, I would say complete. So everybody that has a complete, okay, that means that you can move forward with your assignment. You can go forward and start working on your assignment. All right, which is great. So you guys got that kind of down. There wasn't anybody. I kind of wish there was one that I saw where I could say, ooh, I don't know about that. But if for whatever reason you get an incomplete, it means you've got to redo it. And typically what I do is I type into these text boxes here, what I found wrong with it, okay? Or you can simply ask me in class or whatever, okay? All right. Questions so far about your topics or any kind of clarity? Anybody that didn't post, does anybody have any questions about that? No? How's everybody doing today, by the way? What's going on? Yeah, who's on campus? Anybody on campus right now? Yeah, okay. How's it going there? What's the mood like? Is there a camp there?
There's not much going on, I guess.
No, there never is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. It's like a ghost town. Perfect. That's wonderful. Yeah. All right. Okay. So here's what the informative speech is. Okay. So we're doing the student introduction speech you did yesterday, special occasion speech you're doing next week. Okay. Week 4, you have your demonstration presentation due. Then you kind of get a break during week 5 because I want to give you more time to work on your persuasive speech. Okay. And then week 6, you actually have 2 presentations due. Okay. Your persuasive speech and your special occasion speech. And it might sound like a lot, but the special occasion speech, there's not really that much to it. It's a lot, very close to what you did with your student introduction speech as far as effort. So let's talk about what you're going to be doing for the informative presentation. Okay, so that is due next week. Okay, we're going to be giving these in class. All right, and July 19th is next Wednesday. Okay, so if you count today, you have about what, like 7.5 days, 8 days to get this speech completed. So what you're going to do for the informative speech, we're asking you to clearly convey knowledge and act as a teacher of information. Okay, an informative speech asks you to play a role. All right, and that role for this particular speech is that of a teacher, somebody providing information, trying to get your audience to learn about your topic. Okay. All right, we already talked about what the topic's about. So here are the requirements for the speech itself. You need to deliver a 3 to 4 minute presentation. Okay, that means you are talking for 3 to 4 minutes. For some people, that sounds like 30 to 40 minutes. For other people, it sounds like 30 to 40 seconds. Okay, so this is why it's really important that you practice your speech so you can get that time. Okay, now you have about a minute, a buffer zone, 3 to 4 minutes. So you got about 60 seconds, once you hit 3 to kind of wrap things up. Okay. Make sure your presentation has some structure to it. And we're going to talk about structure leading up to the speech. Make sure it has an introduction where you warm your audience up. Okay, you get them engaged. You give them an understanding of what you're going to be talking about throughout the speech, preview your main points. Then you jump into the body of your speech, which is going to be the vast majority of your presentation is the informational part of it. Okay, and then the conclusion. And a conclusion for public speaking, as it is for essay writing or storytelling, is essentially where you recap and review everything you did for the speech. You redo the introduction. Okay, so make sure your speech has some kind of organization to it. So to kind of help you or guide you through the speech, okay, to give you talking point, I've provided about 5 talking points that you should try to cover in your speech in order to fully form your presentation and to give you research ideas of where to find information. Okay, so number 1, pretty obvious, provide a descriptive background on the innovator, innovation, the who, what, where, and when. Don't spend the whole speech doing this, but probably your first talking point is you want to give people the history of your topic. Okay, just if people don't know about it, like I don't know anything about Riot Games, so Ryan would probably spend, maybe about a good 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds of the speech, just giving the background. Okay. Then there's 2 things here. Explain how the innovation, and I know it says media innovation, I'm going to get that out of there right now, but explain how the innovation or innovator has positively and negatively affected society. Okay. And I'm sure we can come up with a lot of different reasons, but just pick one reason how your innovation has positively affected society, how your innovation has negatively affected. Okay. Then give a few reasons why you picked the topic. I know it says team. I get that out of there too. So why you selected this innovation for the assignment? Like what turns you on about it? What was interesting about it? And again, this is a course that you paid for. This is a class. You could simply just say, I needed a topic for this speech. But you'll see when we start talking about picking topics why that's important. Okay. And then lastly, try to end your body with what you think will happen with the innovation in the next 5 years. Okay. Make a prediction. It could be a bold prediction. It could be a totally bland run-of-the-mill prediction. But give us some idea of where you see this innovation going. Right. The last part of your presentation is you need to create a PowerPoint, okay, and use that as your visual aid. Needs to be at least 3 slides, and I'm not counting the title slide as a slide. And I also should put in here too, the bibliography, if whatever research you're using, if you are using research, those two don't count as slides. So at least 3 slides, so we can get used to using visual aids in our speech, okay? Very last thing, after you're done your speech, your audience must ask you 2 questions, okay? And that is part of the grading rubric here, okay? And that's attached to down at the bottom of that. If you need a little bit more clarity on what you're going to be, kind of evaluated on as you go through your speech. Okay, 25 points, 5 for delivery, 10 for content, 5 for PowerPoint, the use of your PowerPoint, and 5 for questions being asked. Okay. All right. And that is basically, that's what you're going to be doing for your speech. And we're going to go over this a bunch of different times so everybody knows what to do. But next Wednesday, that's going to be the course. That's going to be the class. Everybody's going to be doing that. We have a lot of people in the class that we'll need to get through. Okay. So that's what we've got going on as far as the informative speech goes. There is a video attached to it. I typically try to have videos to give students an idea of what they're doing. Okay, so that you can see here, get a basic, guidelines and ideas of how things are going to go for the presentation. Okay, and we're going to go over this several times. We'll talk about it again later this week. We'll definitely go over it in class. I have some activities planned. Okay, but that's your next speech. It's 25 points. Unlike the student introduction presentation, I am going to be evaluating it. It's not going to be a free pass like it was with your student introduction. Can we get the other people, can we get Alex and Beta to can you guys get your cameras on? It's just nice to see smiling faces instead of black squares. Thank you. So, questions about the informative presentation. Somebody asked something. Come on, make me feel like I want to make sure my microphone was on the whole. Who's got something?
For the PowerPoint, are we able to just have images and then it doesn't have to actually have text? It can just be the title slide and then images to use as talking points.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, your PowerPoint, and when we talk about visual aids, your PowerPoint does not need to have text. In fact, the less text for a visual aid, the better. Because then you don't have your audience reading, you have them focusing on you and listening to you rather than reading a big giant, 3x5 card that's on a board. So, okay. What else? Nobody's worried if they're under time or overtime, how that's going to affect their grade. Nobody's worried about turning in stuff. Come on, folks, be curious today.
What does happen if we go overtime?
Get kicked out of class. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're booted right out. You got to start all over again. You lose a few points. I mean, you saw the rubric. It's out of 10 points, and time is a part of that grade. But if you're under, listen, if you're under by a lot, it's a 3-minute speech minimum. So if you talk for 1 minute, it's going to be a problem. But if you're at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, you've got some work to do, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not going to end you. Okay. And it's the second speech, and it's the first one that's truly evaluated. All right. Mateo, what do you got going on?
Nothing.
How's your morning been so far? What have you got done?
I worked out, and then I've got another class after this.
How much you bench?
215.
All right, I want that up to at least 250 by week 3, okay? We can do that, right? All right, good. Anybody else? Anybody bench press today? Anybody else do anything like that? No? How about the face?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Yeah, you're gonna knock it out. Get a little bit earlier stuff going on. All right, enough of the idle chit chat, folks. Let's hop back into it. So That's your informative presentation. It's your next speech. It's the next thing that's going to get you all kind of worked up and feeling weird and stuff like that. And that's fine. Now, the other assignment that you'll see with this, and this goes moving forward for the informative, the demonstration, and the persuasive speech, you're also going to complete the informative presentation critique. I need to add the questions for that. Okay. But essentially, it's really just you talking about how you feel the presentation went. Okay, not a big deal. But that's coming up. That is next Wednesday. It's a little over a week from now. Don't start sweating it this week. Get your topic taken care of. If your topic's been approved, move forward, and life will be wonderful. It'll be great after that. Okay, all right. So the next thing we're going to move on to, we're going to talk a little bit about chapter 1, okay? And we talked a little bit about managing speech anxiety yesterday. You know, we talked about breathing and slowing down. We talked about not trying to be perfect, not expecting complete failure. We talked about practicing our speech, okay? We went through and discussed some of the weird old wives' tale-y kind of things that we come up with that people get freaked out about. Okay, you know, remember we talked about staring at people's foreheads, right, Alex? Wasn't that yours? Or at least I stared at you. I freaked you out and stared at your forehead. So, you know, we talked about you know, staring at the back of the room. Was the person here who said, imagine everybody's naked or in their underwear? Who was that? No, nobody's going to claim that one. That guy's not here. Okay. You know, imagine people are in their underwear, tightening your butt cheeks, you know, whatever you need to do to get through the presentation seems to, you know, kind of work out there. So we will take a look at, in class, I do have a video that hopefully helps people kind of build their confidence. But, you know, those are the things we talked about, managing our speech anxieties. We talked about how public speaking is something that we do every day. You know, we talked about how we take in feedback from our audience, okay, how we kind of massage or change our message to engage a particular audience. We talked about how public speaking is different. It's more formal, okay? There's kind of rules of etiquette that you follow when you're public speaking as far as for the speaker, as far as it goes for the audience, okay? And that kind of encompasses chapter 1. So the next thing that we really need to talk about is, okay, chapter 1, you know, all the anxiety that people have about public speaking. Now we need to kind of move on and we need to think about our audience, and that's chapter 3, okay? Because I told you in class, audience is all that's really important when it comes to you as the speaker. When you're getting your speech together, you constantly have to keep your audience top of mind, okay, right? Being audience-centric, and that's kind of the first question for chapter 3. Why is it important to be audience-centric? So before we get to that, someone's asked you to give a speech, right? Okay, I'm asking you to give a speech on Wednesday. So initially, your first question, everyone's first question when they're doing public speaking is, what am I going to be talking about? Okay, so what we're going to talk a little bit about today is how to select the topic. Okay, some of you have already done it for your informative speech, some of you haven't. So let me ask you a question right off the bat. Got to give an informative speech, folks. It's part of the class, it's part of your job, whatever. So Merlin, someone says, Merlin, we need you to give a speech, an informative presentation at work next week. What is your next step? You find a topic, find a topic related to what we do at work here and talk about it. What's your next step? What do you do? What do you think?
I would figure out something that's relevant that people are going to want to hear about, and then I would just start Googling and just start researching it.
Okay, so you would think of what your audience wants to hear. Okay.
And so, so I can't talk about something that I don't know about or really care about too much.
Okay.
As long as I have that freedom.
Okay. freedom. Ben, what about you? How do you go about picking a topic?
Same thing, like,
No, Ben,
and like,
answer. Be different, Ben.
like, I don't know, I would research it, like, if it's some you can find real world, like, going, getting an example of like a real world scenario of it.
Ben, I'm calling one of my timeouts. Ben. Question mark. Ben, question mark. You say yes, Brian. Yeah, okay. So what am I researching? I don't have anything to research yet. You just said start researching your topic. Like Ben, did you pick a topic yet for the informative speech? No? So how are you going to do that? Like what's going to get you to that point? Like what's your thought process of picking a topic for your informative speech?
First I would just like Google like a lot of like big like innovations that happened, and then like pretty much just scroll through and see which one like interests me best. That way I could like be more motivated to search it, Google it, and research it.
Okay. So you don't have one off the top of your head that you have a lot of experience with that's kind of burning a hole through your face, right? Okay. So Merlin is picking a topic that he's got some knowledge about. Ben's picking a topic that he has some interest. Okay. And those folks are really the two kind of best ways to go about selecting a topic. Okay. Everybody can see this. If you can't see this Microsoft Word, let me know. That means I didn't push the right button. So first and foremost, like Merlin was talking about, pick something you know a lot about. Okay. So if you're working somewhere and, you know, let's say Merlin's in like the sales department of some business. And they're like, Merlin, we need you to talk about last week's monthly sales figures. Okay. Well, Merlin works in that department. He should, off the top of his head, even be able to talk about those sales figures. But he's going to do a little bit more digging. He's going to do a little bit more research. Like he said, he's going to find something that engages the audience. Okay. But then we had Ben. Ben is just going to pull up a list of things that are related to the assignment. Okay. He doesn't really have something that's, you know, super interesting to him right to begin with. So he's going to pull up a bunch of items and look through things and see what interests him. Okay. So in one sense, Merlin is, I don't know if you want to call him an expert, but has a lot of knowledge about the topic that he's going to pick already. Okay, so he might feel comfortable, he might feel confident about talking about that topic, which is good. That's a good reason to pick a topic. You've experience with it. Or you're picking something that interests you. Okay, maybe you don't have a lot of information. You know, Ben doesn't know right now what he's going to pick, but when he does pick something, yeah, he's going to have to look it up. And maybe once he looks it up, he realizes it doesn't interest him. Okay, so that's kind of the way that you want to look at things. You want to be able to pick a topic that's experience is great, but listen, Merlin doesn't want to talk about sales figures all the time, right? Ben could care less about innovations. So in order to satisfy the assignment's requirements, you know, he's just going to pick something so he's got a topic to move on. Okay, all right. So now what's next? You've got your topic. Dylan, what happened to you? Slip and fall? There you are. Okay, Dylan, what's next? You've got your topic.
Right. After that, you got to start like researching. If it's something you're interested in, I guess you probably already know a decent amount about it. But I would still try to like further expand on like what you think you know, maybe what you didn't know.
So you right off the bat, you're going to start researching your topic.
Right.
Dylan, do you have a topic for the informative speech?
I do not yet.
Okay. So somebody give me, it doesn't have to be related to the informative speech. Somebody give me a topic for a speech. Anybody. You can type it in the text box, do whatever you want. Give me a topic. I'm going to do a speech on whatever topic you pick. Food truck. Food truck's the first one I saw. Robert, you win with food truck. Okay, folks. So I am going to go into, I'm sure you've heard of Google. All right. So Dylan, you said that I should just start researching stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you know, you're going to use Google. You're not going to go to the library. We don't even have a library anymore. I think it's a coffee shop now, right? So I typed in food trucks. Okay. So food trucks, and there are, what number is it? 313 million results that came up for that. All right. Look at all this. Must try food trucks, 21 best in Philadelphia, food trucks in Philadelphia, 8 food trucks in Philadelphia. I could buy a food truck. That's great. You guys want to buy it? You guys want to go into business? You guys want to get a food truck together? We'll call it like the CMS 120, like eatery or something like that. 6 best food trucks, 11 must, top food trucks. Catching Philly's got more sales on food trucks, food trucks, food trucks, food trucks. And this is page 1. This is result. These are just the tip of the iceberg of all the 313 million results. Okay. Now you have, Dylan, are you still with me?
Yes, I am.
Dylan, we're going to do this together, you and me. We're going to figure this out together. So
Gotcha.
food trucks, right?
Mhm.
Thank God we didn't do baseball. We would be here forever, right? So you have 8 days. You've got 8 days to research food trucks, and you have 313 million results. Are you
Okay.
going to go through, how are you going to know what to pick? How are you going to know?
I'll probably try to narrow that number down. Maybe
Probably a
like
good idea. I like the cut of your jib. Keep going.
get that number down, look at more specifics, like if I'm looking to make my presentation about starting food truck business or
Up there. So what are you creating now? What's he creating? Anybody? Dylan, you're off the hook for a little while.
All right.
So Dylan is starting to think about creating a thesis statement. Okay. And I know you've heard this before. I know it's a big part of English composition. As you read through the book, you know, you might see, I don't know exactly what public speaking gives it a different name, but it's essentially a thesis statement. Okay. Right now, I have some very specific ideas of what a thesis statement is. People can argue with me, and that's your prerogative. You paid for it. But for what I like to teach people is, I like to teach thesis statements as this. Okay, so you have your topic, and that's great, but your topic is super big, like we talked about, food trucks, 313 million results. Now we've really got to narrow that down quickly because we don't have a lot of time. Okay, even with 8 days until our next speech, still not a lot of time because you guys aren't going to work on it at all this week. And then you got the weekend, and you've got cookouts, and you've got going down the shore, and you've got lighting off fireworks, all sorts of fun stuff. So you're not truly going to work on your speech probably until starting Monday. Okay, I know because I was a student too. Okay, so now that it's Monday and it's crunch time. Okay, now you've got to take this topic and you've got to narrow it down. How do you do that? You do that by creating a thesis statement. And a thesis statement is 1 sentence long. Okay, 1 sentence, not a paragraph. You want to try to summarize everything you want to talk about in that 1 sentence. Or I'm sorry, you don't want to summarize your speech in that 1 sentence. Okay, that you have to think of that 1 sentence as kind of your advertising tagline that's going to interest people. So if you summarize everything in that thesis statement, you're giving away your speech. People aren't going to stick around and they're not going to want to listen. And lastly, you want to think of a way to make your thesis statement profound. Okay, you want it to be, you know, like a smack in the face, like jumping into a cold pool. Okay, so make it into a claim, a promise. Okay, like a claim could be like, you know, you're stating a fact, you're standing on top of a mountain stating a fact, or a promise where you say like, hey folks, if you listen to this speech, I'm going to prove what this thesis statement to you. Or an argument starter. It could be something that you feel that there's going to be people that sit on the other side of it And either they want to engage you in an argument, or they're going to be very curious to hear how you kind of bring everything into some kind of closure. Okay, so those are kind of the reasons behind creating a thesis statement, because you need to take your information that's up here, your big topic, food trucks, and you got to bring it down here. And that thesis statement is what engages the audience. Okay, and we'll move on to how we do that in a few minutes. So, all right, food trucks. Let's write a thesis. Let's get a thesis statement. Let's do an informative speech on food trucks. Let's come up with an informative thesis statement for food trucks. What do you got? What do you think, folks?
You could say food trucks are bad for the restaurant business.
Food trucks are bad for them. Doesn't that sound persuasive, Merlin?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, let's turn that into an informative speech. Anybody? How can we turn that into, we're teaching people about food trucks? Or how do we change Merlin's state? How do we Mateo, what do you?
I mean, like changing the idea fully, right? We're not going on that food trucks are bad.
You can scrap Merlin's idea, you can give me something new, you can work off of it.
If I was gonna make it informative, I'd probably do like food trucks are revolutionary to the food industry or something.
Okay, all right, so let's take a look at that. And that's kind of, we can kind of dovetail that into what Merlin said without making it, persuasive. So we can say, food trucks are a new innovation. Ooh, we got an innovation there. Food trucks are new innovation competing within industry. Look at that. Okay. Food trucks are a new innovation competing within the restaurant industry. Okay. Maybe we can get rid of new because people might argue, oh, they've been around for a while. Are an innovation competing within the restaurant industry. Okay. Now, is that the sexiest thesis statement ever? What do you think? Like, what do you guys think about that? How, it's a thesis statement. It's something, it's a working title. It's something to play with. What do you guys think of that?
It's interesting.
Okay. Does it give away a lot?
No, you could go a lot of different ways with that.
Okay. If you're an audience member, and let's say like we saw a lot of pages where people could buy a food truck, they could get involved with the food truck industry. Would that be a statement it's vague enough, it's broad enough? Like Merlin said, you can go in a lot of different directions. Okay. And that might pique your audience's interest. If you changed it into food trucks, are easy to set up, you can take them everywhere and they can offer a variety of different food. Like people are like, I don't want to hear any of that. Okay. So with this thesis statement, as bland and as broad as it might be, it gives us a lot of wiggle room when we start putting our speech together. Okay. As the presenter, which is good. Okay. Because we might start doing research and we start finding all these, like when we went into, folks will talk back into when we went into the food truck research, like look at what first popped up. So we have food trucks, right? And maybe now we can say food trucks as an innovation to the industry. Okay, that's what's great about Google. So now we've got a little bit, now we also have the people ask, why are food trucks important to the food industry? What are the benefits of food trucks? Look, these things can already start to give you talking points, okay? But now we've got, now we've taken it, look, we've cut our results almost in half from 313 million to 145 million. Okay, so we're getting there, folks. Okay, as far as all that information goes. But you guys know how Google works. Look, 5 things food trucks can teach us about innovation. Feeding entrepreneurship, food trucks and the innovation. Okay, and we can get, because, if we're researching online, we can get pretty particular about what we want to talk about. Okay, so that's good. Now, once you have your thesis statement, do you hire somebody to chisel it in stone, to get a sandblaster to go and put that in granite? What do you think? What do you think? Is it done? Can you change it? Can it be manipulated? Could it be massaged? Is it malleable? Is it organic? What do you think, folks? Or is that it? You've written your thesis statement, and by God, that's going to be the thing you work on. What do you think?
I think as you're starting to research and stuff, you could possibly change it to more of the information that you find, chisel it a little bit more.
Why'd you say possibly? Say again without saying possibly.
Okay. As you're doing your research, you could change it to chisel it more down.
Yes, folks, listen, especially in the world we live in, there's a reason why they put erasers on pencils, okay? You have your thesis statement. Instantly, you want to start doing research, but you don't do that yet, okay? You've got your thesis statement. It is not set in stone. It should be organic. You should be able to change it. You should be able to grow with it. And that is all based off of chapter 3, okay? And chapter 3 is what we're going to kind of close things out talking about today. So anybody here communication majors? Anybody here thinking about being a communication major? No, you guys are all, what are you thinking about doing for a major? Anybody? What's your major? Tell me what your majors are. Who are you? Type them into the text box if you want. What are you majoring in? Is it staring at me? Okay, computer science, business administration. Okay, that's it, only 4 people. Computer science, I got all the computer science. Life science, okay. I got all the computer science. Mechanical engineering, Ben, way to go. Okay, electrical engineering, anybody else? Nobody's a philosophy major or anything like that? Okay, so let me talk to the business people real quick, because I have a BA in business. I have a master's degree in business, and it's in marketing and public relations. Like, that's the area of profession that I focus. Business, and I could probably relate it to all of your majors here too. Business, communication, computer science, you need to know who your audience is that you're talking to, okay? It's a big part of communication is, who are you talking to, okay? Because you're going to talk to different people in different situations, different ways, right? Okay, so I'm sorry, was this the class where we had somebody that worked in a restaurant, or was that my other class? Who worked in the restaurant? Who is that? Is that somebody that's here? Ben, you work in a restaurant, right? And Ben, remember, no, Ben, you don't need to do anything. Just sit right there. That's good. You're doing a great job. So Ben, if you remember from yesterday, Ben said he talks to old people, like people my age, okay, differently than he talks to people that are around his age, okay? And Ben, why do you do that? Why don't you treat me like you would any other younger, cool person?
You just know if you want me to be more formal or not. So most times out of the situations, like, you want to be more formal. You want to present yourself a little better.
Okay. And probably like You know, Ben thinks that older people expect to be respected, which in his case, he's talking about being more formal. Where I'm not saying he's being disrespectful to people that are his age, but like maybe Ben thinks like, I'm not as concerned with my waiter being, you know, super formal to me. So I'm not going to be super formal to people that I think that are a lot like me. Okay. So what Ben's doing is he's analyzing his audience and he's adapting his message to his audience. And that's the important next step. So after we have our thesis statement, we really don't start researching yet. We need to start thinking about, hold on one second, folks. I'm sorry, it's not fancy, a fancier transition. We need to start thinking about our audience, okay, which is chapter 3. And if I could tell you, if you know, again, we talked about how we jump around with chapters and things like that. I would say chapter 3, if it's not the most important chapter in the book, it's the 1A most important chapter in the book, okay? All right, because too many times, people, when they have to give presentations, they only think about themselves. They think about them as a presenter. I'm going to pick a topic that I like, and I'm going to talk about what I like about that topic. Don't get me wrong, that's important, okay? But you also need to keep your audience top of mind when you give your presentations, okay? And that's part of an audience analysis. Now, I have a video associated with it. It's pretty short.
Wouldn't the world be a more spectacular?
And we're going to take a look at it, and it basically gives a really nice coverage of the basics of understanding your audience, okay? Because there can be a lot that goes into it, like how do you get information about your audience? You know, what do they like? What don't they like? You know, what if Ben got a dossier on all of his customers that he's going to, like the day before he goes to work, what if he got like a file on all the people that are going to come in that day and sit in his area? You know, could he prepare for it a different way? What would he do differently, you know, to possibly increase the amount of tip that he gets? Okay, right? That's probably a big deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a quick video that talks about audience analysis, okay? How to, you know, start to put yourself in the mindset, because that's something that you may not have been trained to do before. When you talked about public speaking, like everybody focuses so much on you, the presenter, but you really have to start changing your mindset to being audience centric, okay? Where you think like, I have this idea and I like this. How am I going to make 5, 10, 100, 1,200 people like what I'm talking about? Okay, so let's take a look at this video. Let's blow it up here.
Get ready for the beef!
Sorry about that. Yeah, we got to get the ads. Here we go.
Wouldn't the world be a more spectacular place if everyone was just like you? If only we all shared your interest in home brewing, Irish folk dance, and the hibernation patterns of bears. Sadly, that's not how the world works. As a public speaker, that means you're going to have to figure out some things about the group of people to which you're speaking. This is called audience analysis, and conveniently enough for you, is the topic of this very video. We're going to talk about the importance of audience analysis, the types of audience analysis, and how to conduct audience analysis. Let's get started. Audience analysis is important for a variety of reasons. First, who doesn't like to know that someone is thinking of them? Audience analysis shows the audience that you've had them in mind throughout the entire preparation process. Aristotle also talked about the importance of finding common ground with your audience. In today's technical speech parlance, we call that identification. Audience analysis will also help us know what level and kind of language we should employ, determine the types of presentational aids that will be most effective, and develop strategies for relating the topic to the audience. For these and many other reasons, audience analysis is a crucial part of speech preparation. There are several different types of audience analysis that a speaker can and should conduct. The most basic is demographic analysis. Demographic analysis looks at audience characteristics in broad categorizations. Some common categories of demographic analysis are age, gender, ethnic and cultural background, socioeconomic status, meaning income, occupation, and education, religion, political affiliation, and group membership. While it's important not to let demographic analysis slip into stereotyping, a basic understanding of the makeup of your audience can be quite helpful. You'll need different strategies if you're going to give a speech on Social Security to a group of senior citizens, as opposed to a second grade class, or if you're speaking about stricter gun control laws at an NRA meeting. In these cases, a little demographic knowledge can go a long way. Demographic analysis will give you some basic surface information, but you'll also want to conduct an attitudinal analysis of the audience. You need to know as much as possible about the audience's attitudes, beliefs, values, feelings, and opinions about your topic, you as a speaker, and the occasion for the speech. Do they already have strong opinions about the topic you'll be covering, or will you have to educate them as you go? What does the audience know about you? Will you have to overcome a bad reputation, or do they not know anything about you, in which case you'll need to work on building credibility? And what are their expectations for things like the length and theme for a speech on this occasion? If they're expecting you to speak for 20 minutes and you go for an hour and a half, you could be in trouble. Likewise, a speech about diversity on Martin Luther King Jr. Day is likely to be better received than one on fantasy football strategies. One last type of audience analysis that will serve you well as a speaker is situational analysis. In a situational analysis, the speaker carefully considers the setting and context of their speech. This might include things like the size of the audience, the size of the room, the time of day the speech will be delivered, and the technologies that will be available. Knowing these things in advance will help you be better prepared for whether or not you'll be using a microphone, fighting against the audience's pre-lunch cravings or post-lunch drowsiness, and whether or not it's even worth putting a PowerPoint together. You might be saying to yourself, wow, that's really useful information. I definitely want to do an audience analysis before my next speech. But how do I do it? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you about 3 common methods for gathering information for your audience analysis: observation, sampling, and general research. Observation is a qualitative method of information gathering. In the simplest terms, it involves getting your own eyeballs on the audience and the environment. Ideally, you'll be able to do this before you actually speak. Take a look at the crowd to get a feel for the mix of ages, races, and genders represented, the size and temperature of the room, and any obvious kinds of interference that you'll have to combat. You can also engage in observation while you're giving your speech, which can be as simple as paying attention to the nonverbal feedback provided by your audience. Another type of information gathering that can be useful in audience analysis is sampling. Sampling involves surveying the audience, either formally or informally. If you have the time and opportunity before delivering your speech, you can ask the audience to answer questions about your topic. These could be closed-ended questions, like attitudinal questions, value-ordered questions, or Likert-type questions, or open-ended questions like, what are your feelings about vaccines for children? You could then tabulate and analyze the responses, making use of the resulting data in your speech. You can also survey the audience less formally during your speech, such as a speaker who asks for a show of hands after asking a question. This can provide quick and visible feedback, but it does involve some risk, as you won't know the answer in advance and therefore can't prepare as thoroughly. Finally, a speaker can conduct a little general research to find out more about their audience and the situation. A quick search of published sources such as websites, newspapers, and other publications may yield some information about a particular group. You can also conduct interviews with people who will be a part of the audience and infer information from their answers. Asking questions of the person who invited you to speak can be fruitful. They should have some idea of the size and makeup of the audience and also be able to provide some information about the environment in which you'll be speaking. Remember, your audience isn't likely to be a room full of mirrors. You'll need to account for the fact that the people making up the audience will have their own interests, habits, and concerns. I may want to spend hours dissecting every glorious hour of Firefly, but most people do not, which is why it was canceled after only 14 episodes, and you don't recognize the people in this picture as the cast of the show. Public speaking is not about just you. It's your job as a speaker to figure out how you can best connect the ideas, language, and other aspects of your speech to your audience. And then you should totally watch
Oh my
Firefly.
gosh, not the Firefly thing again. Sorry about the Firefly thing. So, what's important?
Venturing into the unknown.
1 second.
Even without having to worry about money.
I turn that off. So if you want to review that video, it is attached to the assignment. And what we'll do is when we start class tomorrow, Wednesday, I will jump right into audience analysis because there are a lot of moving parts. You know, they talked about demographics, my business administration people. Ryan,
Yeah.
what are demographics?
Demographics are the type of people that you're trying to appeal to.
Why, what, give me more. Why them? What are demographics to do?
So I mean, it depends on what your like topic is. So for example, if you're trying to open like a restaurant or something, right? You want to know what the demographic of people in your community is so that you can appeal to.
Let me cut you off. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, here's my question for you. Do I look like I eat Taco Bell?
Yeah, I could see you eating Taco Bell after like a night out at the bar. And you're
So I'm a drinker.
maybe.
Well, am I or aren't I, Ryan?
Yes.
That's how you're getting me to Taco Bell. I have to get drunk to go eat Taco Bell.
I feel like a lot of like that's like a demographic. Late night.
I definitely agree with you, but my question is, do I look like I eat a Taco Bell? And you say, aside from the fact that I'm a drinker, what else tells you that I eat a Taco Bell? It's the funniest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Yeah.
I do not eat a Taco Bell. I'm 48 years old. Do you know what Taco Bell does to a 48-year-old man's body? Okay. Ryan, do you like Taco Bell?
Yeah. I eat
Okay.
every once in a while.
So yeah, because you're young and your body can take it, right? And you stay out late, okay? And you and your friends are like, let's go to Taco Bell, right? Because you know it's open until like 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And you're out partying and stuff like that. And then the next day you pop up because you're gonna live forever because you know you're in your late teens or early 20s, right? I can't see you, so I don't know. That's what demographics are all about. Demographics are when, now listen, if you send a survey out to me, Taco Bell called me on the phone, if they put me in a focus group, but that stuff takes a lot of resources, okay? So demographics is a big part of audience analysis where you have to make assumptions and guesses about your audience. And yes, it does walk a fine line of stereotyping, okay? But you may not have the time or the resources to gather information about your audience. So if you want to make a connection with them, you know, one thing you can do is observe who you're going to be talking to. Or prior to that, think about like, all right, who's taking a 6-week summer class at Montgomery County Community College? It starts at 10 o'clock and goes to 11:45 and is, you know, Monday through Thursday and starts in July. Do you think that's a specific type of person? Like, could I create an audience out of that? And the answer is yes, I can. Okay. And that's something that's what demographics are so valuable for. It's little categories that you can put people into. Things like age range, where they live, education level, socioeconomics, their ethnicity, culture. You can go on and on and on and on. And the good people at Taco Bell, if you watch a Taco Bell commercial, you're not going to see me in like a person that looks like me in a Taco Bell commercial because I'm not their audience. Okay, you might see whatever Ryan looks like in that audience because the Ryan is the people that go and buy that. Okay, so that's kind of an important thing to think about. So we're getting close to kind of wrapping things up for today. What we're going to focus on tomorrow, let's hop into the course space. What we're going to focus on tomorrow is we are going to talk more about, chapter 3. Okay, we're going to probably get into, well, we talked about chapter 4, which is choosing a topic. Okay, so that's good. We knocked out chapter 3 and 4. And we will start talking about chapter 14, giving an informative presentation. I will also have a speaking activity for you tomorrow. So we're going to continue talking about audience analysis. We're going to talk about what goes into an informative presentation. We'll start talking. But you will also have an activity, an in-class activity, where you will get more experience speaking in front of the class. It's not a graded activity, so don't worry about that. It's just there to kind of, it's a skill builder. Okay, all right, but that's kind of what we're going to be doing tomorrow for Wednesday in class. I need 3 questions before we get out of here. Somebody give me 1, somebody else can give me 2, somebody else can give me 3, and then I'll let you out of here. What
I
do you
do
got?
have one.
Go ahead, Merlin.
So we do need a thesis for this informative presentation.
It's, when you say need, I feel like it's something you're going to like gift wrap for me for my birthday. Yes, you do need one because it will help you write your speech. No, don't think of it as a like a set upon task that needs to be completed. Okay, all right. And I can give everybody a pretty much a generic framework for their thesis statement. Okay, so that's a good question. That's 1. 2 more. I'll tell you what, I'll let you ask a personal question about me. That could be one of the questions.
What fast food place do you eat
No,
at?
Merlin, you're done. You are done.
What fast food place do you eat at?
I'm a big fan of the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Popeyes chicken. All right, 1 more. Who's going to be the hero that gets us out of here?
I have a question.
Okay, what do you got?
Do you get the spicy or regular sandwich?
Regular. If I got spicy, I wouldn't be here right now. See how I don't have that much
Ooh.
in my head? It would all be gone. It would all be gone. I can't handle spice. Go ahead.
Oh, I missed the first like 10-15 minutes. Were y'all talking about like anything that was like really, really important, or were you going over from yesterday?
We talked about what we're gonna do for the informative presentation. I am gonna go over those directions again, and I'm also recording the Zoom meeting, and I'm gonna send a link out once we're all done. So if you want to review like 10 minutes of it, it'll be
Okay.
good. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. We did it, folks. All right. So everyone, tomorrow, 10 a.m., however that looks, 10 a.m. in class 316. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.